It's going to take a couple of minutes. We are back on YouTube. This part of it that anyone that watches the replay will see. But it's going to take about 2 minutes for everybody to start coming in. So a couple of things. One, we're back on YouTube. Yay. One more strike and we will be deplatformed, but that's okay. Whatever happens, happens. So, and then the other thing is, I'd rather say this when everybody's on, but they'll see it on the replay, is that I really thought I was going to bite the dust yesterday. Mm-hmm. And I realize, I when you're in the middle of that, you don't realize it's not just you.
Yeah.
I'm so important that they're just going to throw all this shit on me and everybody else has a great day. But it's been an intense period. And I just, I slept like 8 hours and then I woke up and then I had about 2-3 hours of being in a fetal position, among other things. And then I went back to sleep for 7 or 8 hours. But I put up a couple of posts and the support was really mind blowing. And it was, literally brought me to tears. So I just want to thank everybody formally. Thank you for your continued love and support and contributions that allow us to keep doing this every single day by some miraculous, power that we all are. Yes, the Divine Feminine's in the house. That's right. Let's see. What do we got? A minute. Yeah, we're good. So we got a special show today with these three beautiful ladies, Jayme and Missee and Marion. And I have just met Marion. They've been doing something. And actually, I saw it was two people that had kind of done something similar. And it was between themselves. And I was very impressed with it. Their foresight going into their connection. And I won't mention any names because I really don't have permission. I don't want to, but I don't think they'd mind. But the point is people going into the transformation consciously and then doing it with one or two other people. That's pretty impressive. So I just want to take my hat off to you. And why don't you guys figure out who's going to lead here? And then I'll sit here and figure out what recommendation I'm going to give Jayme for her new hair color. But you guys were telling me a little bit about it before we clicked live. You guys have done 28 days together. What are the nuts and bolts? Or just start however you want to. But I would like to definitely get into the intricacies of what you're doing and why and all that. But you guys take it away.
Who wants to start? Should I introduce?
Oh, I thought she was pointing at me to tell her that she wanted to talk. She's putting it on Jayme. I was taking a break, but I feel much better. I did cancel the show this morning. Thank you for asking. Thank you all for the support and the love too. I appreciate it. It probably helped me heal and align. So thank you. What you got, Jayme?
All right. So yeah, I was connected to Marion and connected to Missee, both of them, and they were connected together as well on Facebook, but I just really felt a deep resonance between their two energies. And so I reached out to both of them and just invited an open discussion just to kind of chat on what's going on in our lives and where we're at and what we've been navigating through. And it was a really beautiful conversation. And then afterwards, I had a vision of us doing this thing together. And I usually don't jump into things. I allow it to marinate and I wait until I feel a very strong momentum. I usually wait for the vision to get a little bit more clear and for me to just really feel the energy, the creative energy all throughout my body. And it was a full body yes to reach out to them and to just give them an idea of what I was seeing. And so I did. And it was just after Missee was on your show, Todd. And Missee, I don't know if you wanted to talk a little bit about that, but she needed some time to think about it because it was a lot of energy, us like collaborating together and putting ourselves out there. and she was on board fully. And what I love about Marion and Missee is that they are fierce. And it just really brightens my heart how they're just they're both this perfect blend of the divine feminine and the peaceful warrior, and I just love to be in their presence, and taking this journey has just been absolutely beautiful and intense at times. We committed to doing what's called a 21-day Light of God protocol, and which is daily writing out this protocol and saying it out loud. I had a fire ceremony at the end of the 28 days, and we're working around the energy of rejection. So rejection is something that has come up for all of us, all three of us. For me, probably I've been working through it for about a year. And so it was really powerful to bring our energies together and just navigate through this. It felt the healing felt very intensified, and the breakthroughs that we had felt pretty major. So I could go into a little bit about what I went through, but I'd like to just kind of open up for Marion and Missee if you guys want to add anything more.
I'll add to kind of where we're going with this is that, I am that fierce person. I'm that person that wants to like head into like all my darkest parts. That's been my my deal here. Even when I when I first got sober, more than 10 years ago, the first time, it was like that diving deep into my issues. And so, yeah, I have that warrior, but also that really peaceful warrior as well. And when Jayme had approached me to do this, I was like, yes, because this rejection is the core wound for all of us, really. And I've been kind of working through that for a really long time, so I was like ready to go. I was like, let's do this, because I felt that it was going to be so potent and so powerful. And I was immediately drawn to Missee right away from the first time I ever saw her. And I believe it was a live that she had done with Jason. And so I just kept hinting. I was like, I need to connect with her. We have so much in common. And when Jayme connected us, it was just like this amazing, like divine feminine energy that came together. And it was so potent to me. So I just, doing this with them has been healing on so many levels, not just healing the issue around rejection, but I don't know. It's just been so potent for me. And I'm probably going to say that word a lot, potent, but it's been really strong, really beautiful, so supportive, so held. And I feel like the three of us have become one and like did this together as like as a collective, not just individually. It was really, really, really amazing. So yeah.
Wow. We'll come back to that. That was pretty powerful, that last part. I'd like to hear more about that. Missee, what's up with you, Missee Sue? It's good to see you.
It's good to see you, my friend. As you know, Todd, I really like to get down deep with my shadow work. And I'm really committed to my own work every day. And so to work with two other women who are willing to hold themselves at a high level of integrity and dedication and commitment, and join me in not only the Light of God protocol, which is written by Jason Estes, and it's a cord cutting protocol. It cuts all attachments, all ties, all cords. It claims your power back from the subject, and it gives your power, any power you took from it, back to the subject. And You write it out, you speak it out loud and tear it up or burn it. And there's something really powerful that happens when you do that for 21 days. It creates a new neural pathway in the brain. Mm-hmm. And it also, with 21 days of repetitious inner work, it clears the cellular memory as well. After we do the 21-day log commitment, we then stepped into 0 pointing, which is, of course, Morgan Lee's amazing protocol that she came up with, that I've been working with since the beginning of 2021.
Wow.
And this is one of the most powerful things I've ever worked with as far as multi-dimensional clearing goes. Yeah. There's like a invocation, like a code that you work with in the clearing. And it speaks to lineage density, frontwards and backwards in all directions of time. It speaks to DNA clearing, shadow work, matrix. It speaks to so many dimensions of reality that you're clearing with each and every nuance around the subject that you can possibly come up with. And doing these two things together is one of the most potent things that I've done in my own inner work. But really what brings it to a higher level is doing it collectively with 2 other women at the same time, and then having our own container together, sharing our experience, supporting one another through the process, and cheering each other on, really, as women.
Wow.
And then after that whole process is done, Jayme's just has this really amazing modality called biotuning, and she has this integration that she brings all of the energies and integrates them together. We did this, and it was some of the most potent crystalline energy that came through. It was almost cold, you know what I mean?
Really?
It got really cold.
And you guys were not, and you weren't even in the
dimensions.
Yeah. Y'all weren't in the same place. You were like this, right?
Remote.
Yeah.
Yeah, energy, it doesn't matter. I've worked with someone in, Iceland who could bring the most potent crystalline energy here to Salt Lake in my field. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. And that's what's so cool about working through Zoom and creating containers, is that we can all come together all over the world and collectively be working on a subject and clearing together. And the momentum of that, the focused intention of that is incredible. So
you guys were doing, I'm sorry, I have a bad habit, guys, but you ladies, everything's got to be refined now. So there's an element of independent work in this container, and then you come together and you work with each other on these 3 different protocols.
Right.
And I know, like when you were describing the Jason's protocol, and just saying basically what that entails, it actually the effects of it. The first thing I was thinking of, that sounds like some of the stuff that you come across with 0 pointing, but obviously they're all different flavors. And then of course, it's hard. It's not the easiest thing for me to talk about 0 pointing, because obviously. My bride downloaded this and created this, but I will say it changed my life, and I probably wouldn't be with her today. In fact, I doubt very seriously that I would be with her today had I not been introduced to that the first time she came over in 2017. And I bitched and moaned a little bit, but I think we all bitch and moan a little bit with any modality that we take on, especially if it's one like you're talking about, or like 0 pointing, where the human has to be fully present. And I know from being around her and being on the peripheral of her sessions and just knowing some of the people and whatever, how expansive, and you guys know too, but how expansive that is to the individual. I mean, it's an eye opener. I've seen a lot of people go, oh my God, I've changed so much. This changed my life, and it's only been 5 days. I mean, and then they always come back and go, oh, wait a minute, I got more to do. But I'd like to hear about, you know, in terms of like, what is the impact on the individual when three form a trinity like this and consciously and devotedly move forward together as a unit? I mean, I would imagine in this 21, 28 day period that you probably had massive expansion. I'd like to hear about that. I think people would.
Okay, I'll start. It was interesting because how I experienced it was, it felt like the 21-day Light of God protocol was created a funnel. So it was kind of like I was started at the top, and I was kind of looking all around my life about, you know, where rejection has played out, people that have rejected me, people that I may have rejected for fear of being rejected. And so as we worked in day by day, it was like I was getting closer and closer and closer to myself. I was getting closer and closer at seeing where I can take responsibility for where rejection has played in my life and where I have rejected myself. And so towards the end of that, when we transitioned into zero pointing, it was like it just really opened. It was like we went through the eye of the needle, and then it opened up to where I can see just the full spectrum. And this is what zero pointing really does for me, as I've done it in the past, is it just opens up this full spectrum where you can see this this web of the energy that you're zero pointing, that you're working with, and how that has been woven in your life through every interaction. And when you feel like you know, you've been hurt by rejection, you can see where you can take responsibility for that, and you can really own it, because you've gained understanding. It's like you move into like a fractal awareness, like a hyper awareness, where you just see how everything kind of is interwoven and plays together. And so for me, it started out with, because over the last year, I've really, really struggled with my relationship with my parents. And 2020 was one of the most, I haven't even really talked about it publicly, but 2020 was the most traumatic year of my life. And to have that element added to it, where I was having to create space in between myself and my parents just to get through the day. And so it really started with that, with looking at my relationship with my parents, and how intertwined it was with me rejecting my mom's behavior to me, and then like her rejecting me through her behavior, and then my dad rejecting me for not tolerating my mom's behavior. Like, it was just this really entangled thing. And so as I started fine-tuning, it really came through just what areas in my life that I was rejecting myself. And my whole life I've struggled with my relationship with food. Like, it's something that I've spent so much time and energy into, and like I've gone a whole year without eating any sugar at all, and wondering, am I going to go back to eating, like binge eating on sugar after this? And I absolutely did. Like, discipline just does not work for me. And what I realized, there's two things that I had realized before I started this. One is that binge eating on sugar is an escape, which we all know. Something that I learned was that doing womb work is that my mom's nervous system was completely compromised when she was pregnant with me. And I literally came into this world with a broken nervous system. And so when I binge eat, it's basically my subconscious mind wanting to go back into that program. That was my home base. And so, But what this added, the element that this added to me was the realization that food has served as a companion during the time that I was growing up, when I was raised in a very confusing environment and had no one to talk to. It was my companion. And so by just drilling everything down and seeing where I can take responsibility, it made me finally have a breakthrough around this thing that I've been struggling with my whole life. And that is, I was rejecting myself. I was rejecting nurturing my own body in exchange for having this companion. And so now I'm able to like make so much better choices because I feel like I'm just done. I'm not going to reject myself anymore. My body is, I'm deep into the embodiment process. And it's like everything that I do is to nurture my body and to anchor in more light. And through going through these stages of the protocol, the zero pointing, and the integration, it feels like it's really allowed us to embody the wisdom that we've gained by going through this process. And just like being able to witness, like I witnessed the love that Marion embodied through this process. Mm-hmm. And the wisdom and that Missee Sue was able to embody through this process. And when I did that integration session, like I've been a practitioner for a few years now, and I've never cried in a session. And before we did that integration session, I was sobbing. Before I even started, I was sobbing because the love that we were holding in that space was like almost like I almost couldn't contain it.
Wow, that's powerful. So it's, let that sit in for a second. But I know that there's some familiarity or awareness of Jason's protocol, Morgan's protocol. What is the third protocol? Where did it come from, and what does it do? I think that's the integration part. Is that right?
Yeah. So when I first started doing zero pointing, like I mentioned, I do have a bit of a compromised nervous system. And so when I first started zero pointing, it was it was hard on my body because the work was just so deep and it's so transformative on a cellular level. And my nervous system would just kind of freak out. And so my whole, like everything that I do really revolves around healing gently. Like we can heal while nurturing our bodies. Like when you've experienced trauma, it's really important to take into consideration the trauma that the body's still holding. And so what I realized is that I found a way to integrate the work so that the massive breakthroughs that you get, you're able to embody it in a gentle way. And so I just started reaching out to everybody that I know that does zero pointing. And I was like, just contact me if you're in it, like, let me try something on you, And so I just started, just out of a very playful curiosity, I just started working on a technique to integrate it. And so that's what I did at the end of it for the three of us.
I had to turn it off because I don't know what you guys are doing, but 3 minutes into this, there's a huge storm coming. So that always means something. I don't believe in coincidences. So it sounds like that the integration part of it was very organic, number one. And number two, well, the whole thing seems to be organic, the three of y'all and the three protocols, but that the integration is kind of like, if you're a runner, like back in the day when I used to do that, distance running, you have that period when you're done and you keep moving, so they call it cooling down. So I think that's kind of the feeling I get. Is that what you're talking about? Like the integration is the ease and grace, like that part of it comes in to make it a little smoother. Is that right?
It's so the three of us have created this unified field to do the work. And so what I'm doing on my end is I'm basically traveling through this field. And I'm just tuning into what energy is coming through, what wants to be seen, what wants to be heard. If there's any tiny little fragments left that we need to integrate, you know, and I mean, I don't know. I honestly go into this integration with no plan at all. And I just show up wherever I'm guided and explain what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling. And we're just moving. I set a table in the middle of the room and a candle, and I crystal grid it. And I work around this whole area to just kind of bring that, to bring all that energy into like a cohesive, harmonic frequency, so that it can transmute anything else that it needs to transmute, and make room for everything that we want to call in. And call it in and anchor it down.
Bring on the demons, right?
Yeah, it was a really powerful process, I think, for us to integrate all that. When we did it, it was like, you know, we celebrated our 21 day, you know, that we had finished the 21 day, you know, log, and then doing the 0 pointing for me, because I hadn't done it yet, and then I had my appointment with Melissa, and so I did the 0 pointing. I was like, oh man, this is like deep stuff, man. Like I had that like, whoa, kind of like mind blown. And I did it. And at the same time, I was also starting to 0 point like my mom. And so
it doesn't take but 3 or 4 major players in your life in that process, and you know right away. You can see you can see that there's a whole bunch of stuff underneath their faces, or Keep going.
So it was like I started that, and then I started this thing with rejection. But you know, the process of it was, I mean, it was, I could feel this, like the three of us really not only working together in the physical, but also in the dream time. And so, and I mean, really our multidimensional like selves really came out through this whole process. And you know, we were each, you know, playing this like part together. I don't know. I could feel the movement, the way we were moving through everything. And so, you know, here I am, like, you know, having all these embodiments, and I'm having to like, you know, breathe, and I'm calling, you know, Jayme crying. And then I'm like, you know, we're having these meetings once a week, and I'm just like spilling everything, you know, but it was so great to be able to like hold that space with 2 other people. And when we did the integration thing with the with the tuning, it was like we went to a whole nother level. I mean, we tapped into somewhere where I like had my eyes closed and I could feel that I was here, but I went like I was in a whole nother dimension, and it was like in and out.
No, go ahead. Oh, it's back. No, I just wanted to ask, is this involve tones or some type of tone, like a
kind of, the tuning forks.
Tuning fork. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So so a lot of it was, you know, and also, you know, I was doing my own, you know, like to participate in all that too, like, you know, doing my thing as well to add to that energy. And so and then Missee was doing, you know, the 3 of us together were kind of like adding our own thing, and we literally send it off into this whole other area. And it was a trip because I could feel myself here, but there. And it was like, whoa, we just flew somewhere.
And
I
was up in Shasta when we did the integrations, and so I'm sure that the energy there was really. We did it on Lionsgate. We did it on the 8A portal.
That's like throwing gasoline on a fire.
It's so good.
Yeah, I know. I thought about that afterwards, when we were doing it. I'm like, oh my gosh, of course, we're doing this on the Lionsgate energy. And so, but it all felt so divinely timed, like, and inspired. And so it was really cool to do that. And so, everything that's happened, after that has been it's so odd, but interesting. But I came to this understanding through all of this, with my whole deal around rejection, is that I don't look at it the same. It doesn't have the same, because it started to, the word itself started to not even make sense to me anymore, actually, in this process. And I started to look at it a whole different way, and I went into the feeling of it rather than the actual word. And I was able to, I went through the steps as well, where it was like, at first, the rejection, I associated it with men, and then I associated it with my parents. But then I started turning it into like, where have I rejected? So the same kind of process, and where did I reject others? And then I went into this whole process of where have I rejected myself? And during this whole thing, I had quit nicotine. I quit smoking cigarettes, but I quit vaping before we even started this process. So here I am, doing the releasing thing, and the rejection, and the all the things, and then the zero pointing, and then on top of it, I'm like going through this thing with nicotine. But that was so perfect, because I had this whole thing where I had rejected my lungs. And I had rejected the very thing that gives me life, which is breath. And so in this process, I had this conversation with breath and with my lungs, and my lungs were like kind of mad. And so it was like, whoa, okay, so we've got to like, make that cool. And so I like went in, it was like, okay, this is where I've rejected myself. And then it just kept kicking up all these things, but I kept loving myself through the process of it. And I found where I had rejected myself as a teenager and as a kid, and, all these things. And it really boiled down to, what was I doing to myself? And then finally toward the end, it was like, oh, it's not what I thought it was. I went into this with one notion, one thing, thinking, oh yeah. And then I get to the end, and I'm like, oh, it's so beautiful. So yeah.
Well, my experience with the work, I love doing inner work because my reality shifts before my eyes. And I love playing with reality like that. The more I take away the projections and the triggers and the charges, my reality shifts. So with rejection, I would say the biggest thing that this work has done for me in the last month is my relationship with the recovery community here in Salt Lake City. And I remember last time I was on your show, Todd, I said, yeah, I can't say my truth in the community here because it's blasphemy to say you can heal addiction. It's blasphemy for me to say, I believe that I can clear this from my DNA and that this is not something we have to die with. We can really heal this on a cellular level. All the trauma from the body, we have the technology on the planet to really heal this. And what I saw through this practice was not only my rejection of the community, but my belief of their rejection of me.
Wow, that's heavy. That's really heavy. I mean, if you think about the light worker community alone, like that's heavy, because you see that every day. Keep going. Thank you.
So I went to AA super hard. I got sober through the 12 steps, and a lot of their programming, it's a program, is really dogmatic. It worked for me. I love AA. I still do. But when I relapsed because I couldn't stay there, and I didn't see another way. There was nobody pioneering another way out, saying that there's a higher dimension of understanding here. You don't have to call yourself an addict forever.
Mm.
And I relapsed, and I died. I went through this really traumatic relapse. And when I came back from that, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know I can't do that. I'm boxed in that in the 12-step rooms. I can no longer do that. So what that did was, for the last 3 years, I've just been keeping the recovery community away from me, saying, I don't want anything to do with you, and you don't want anything to do with me. And those are facts. That's the truth. And that's looking through a lens of illusion. That's not the truth.
Mm-mm.
And by doing this work, I've been able to clear a lot of that illusion and realize, wow, I have something really powerful and really beautiful. And yes, it is unique. And that doesn't make me special, doesn't make me worse or better. But I have something to share in my community on the earth, like out there, outside,
Right.
not just online,
Right.
but getting out into the community. And so during this 30 days, I applied for a certification, a training, and I just got accepted into that training today, actually.
Far out.
Yeah, to work in addiction recovery in Salt Lake City. And I'm applying for, peer support, peer coaching in addiction recovery here in Salt Lake City at places like the homeless shelter, which I would have never seen myself doing. But you clear away the illusion, you clear away the lies, the story, and the truth can come through. And then your reality shifts. And I'm starting to, you make space. I make space when I clear away the illusion. I make space when my cells become clear, when my body releases the trauma. And what fills that space is truth, is wisdom. And what that wisdom has said to me is, Missee, you have so much to offer addiction recovery, and there are so many walk-ins that are about to come onto this planet. And for me to be out there in the world and really supporting these people in the homeless communities, in early addiction, like right now, feels really important.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love what you said about, because we discussed this when we spent some time together. Lots changed since then, but you could probably see it coming when we had the talk. But I like what you said about I don't have to call myself an addict. That's one of the things that because I went to a lot of those meetings, and I enjoyed it. There were aspects I did, but that was one thing that I didn't sit well with, because I thought, wow, that's kind of a stigmatized, because I don't know, but I like the way you put it. Not to say that it's not there, because I look at myself and there's a couple of things I can't be around, even at this level. If I was in the wrong place, wrong time, I know that, that's just not going to work. So I guess, getting caught up in the word, but just the fact that from your head, in your heart, you went, I don't have to be this, like you're almost like you hit your ceiling. You hit a ceiling there, and then you had to go find a more expansive universe to operate in. Yeah. Very powerful. Did you guys have, sorry, ladies, did you have, I was actually going to go towards what Missee kind of went into, which was the immediate changes that don't, at the normal human comprehension level, don't make sense. But I've seen it too many times with Morgan's clients and even myself. And it's it's so strange to be doing something that seems very rudimentary, just very elementary, very basic, and again, that presence that's required of the human seems to be the real catalyst for this. But what I've heard people say and what I've seen myself is that there's an immediate impact, and it's not just like you would think, like, oh my God, I feel all this energy come in, because it happens, but it's in the it's in the people and the places and the things that are in your closest circle, for instance, or a call out of nowhere, or these things that seem like a coincidence. Did you ladies experience that? Have you experienced that where you see you do something and all of a sudden you realize, wow, this person's treating me a little different, or this person came back and said, hey, by the way, I'm sorry, or just stuff like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I had some weird, so in this whole process, I had lots of things coming up to kind of show me like, almost like triggers, if that's what you're kind of talking about, is like these things that would come up to kind of show me where I was at in this whole process. And like, and then it was interesting because this actually happened. So with the zero pointing, for instance, I'll give you an example. When I was zero pointing rejection, something had happened where someone had rejected something that I had said, and it kicked up this thing. And I immediately was like, okay, I go like, all right, we're going to zero point this word right here, right now. And so I zero pointed the word, and I came up with the negative aspect, did that, and then did the positive. And immediately within seconds, it turned around. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Wait, did I just figure out the magic? Okay, so that worked, and so yes, it was really interesting. Like lots of things kept coming up like around rejection and in various different ways too. And like I don't know, it made me very aware of things happening around me and kind of showing me where I was at. And then now I feel like I have this like, I don't know, like insider knowledge, like, oh, I could, now I can get to do this thing. But it took, doing all this, I started to figure out how far along, like how much of the sting that all of this work was taking out of rejection. So, I mean, we're always going to kind of face, rejection here and there, but like, I wanted to get to that point of not having the sting of it, and be able to like feel it in the moment, and that's the other thing is this showed me how to really be present.
Yeah.
Like very present. And that was one of the things through this process that I found was that I was really questioning like, okay, what am I doing here? What is my purpose here? Why, we're doing this thing together and I love this. And I want, I started questioning a lot of different things. And it came down to like, I want to have full presence. That's going to be my mark and my gift, like to myself and to everyone in my field and everyone around me, is that I want to have full presence. So I'm going to do this work because it's important for me to be present for myself and present for my family, for my friends, and for my soul group, and for anyone that I do work with or anyone that comes into my field. And that was like, so I got shown that all over the place, like what it's going to look like for me if I stay present and what it looks like when I'm not present. So yeah, it was a real, yeah. Oh, I hear the thunder. I think I just heard thunder.
That's y'all.
Wow, presents. Da, 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 I think for me, it hasn't really had so much of effect on like my relationships. How it really affected me is my connection to Mother Gaia, because I felt held by Mother Gaia going through this process in a way that I've never felt before. And also just from a multidimensional aspect, I felt the presence of the non-physical support that we have here on Earth in such a strong way that I can't even describe it in words. And when you feel that support, it makes all the drama that's going on in the world completely irrelevant. Completely irrelevant. Because it's there's an amount of gratitude for us, both feet on the ground here doing the work. It's undescribable. And so for me, that's kind of what I've deepened into. That's where I felt the most shift in terms of my interactions and my connections.
Powerful. That's your cue,
Ooh.
Missy Sue. But you'd mentioned when you were talking about which y'all have come up with it, the multidimensionality
Mhm.
being addressed. Of course, the human, obviously, as Marion was saying. I mean, it's so. And then somebody mentioned magic. It's so strange too. Real quick comment that it's the human. It's the human thing that creates the magic, which is crazy, right? You know what I mean? But what are your thoughts, Missy? Do you have anything to add to what they had to say?
Sure. So one thing that I feel like is really important for me to speak to is how trauma can be healed on all planes of reality.
Mm.
And Todd, I know that you have an understanding of this, different traumatic experiences, experienced with entities, experienced on different timelines, experienced in dream time even.
Mm-hmm.
Trauma even experienced through interacting with people that you've known from other lives, that there's like shame and trauma around that make no sense in this timeline. And this is multidimensional grief. It's multidimensional trauma. And there's a way that we can stay present right here and right now and do the work and clear all directions, which
Yeah.
is really powerful because we're creating space in all directions of time
Yeah.
for truth to resonate through all dimensions, you know?
Yeah. That's the mother
I
goddess.
love it.
I do too. It's not a coincidence. Yeah, I think I felt this before. When was it? The Soulogy Fest with all the feminine. Y'all were two of you were there. I mean, all of that was amazing. It feels very similar. And you mentioned women. I feel like that the three of you represent a lot of things that are on point right now. Self work, self responsibility, collaboration, co creation, improvisation, spontaneity, creativity, femininity. And it sounds like that was part of the foundation of your coming together, was to expand this incredible divine feminine energy that's leading the way for all of us. Am I accurate there, or is there anything you want to say about the fact that, and not to lead, and I understand where you're coming from in terms of the other gender or not. It's just, this is not about that. It's about three feminine coming together with conscious intention and not probably having a clear idea of what every step was going to be. But what's the importance of, from your eyes, what's the importance of this microcosm collaboration of feminine energy in terms of the macro? I mean, do you feel like that this is, let's just say, quote unquote, a sign of the times, or something we're going to see more? Empowered women.
I think what's really, really important is a very balanced masculine and feminine. And even when I was doing the integration session, there was a part that kind of stands out in my memory, and that is, like, I had called in the Divine Mother, and it felt really beautiful to me, but the field was kind of like, the field was kind of like, give me a little pushback. And then I called in the masculine, and it was like, and so I think that making sure that we have a really beautiful balance between the feminine and the masculine, and staying in that neutral space where we're dancing really effortlessly and flowy between the two, and really honoring both energies. This is the world that we live in right now. We have both to play with, and to really heal both the masculine and the feminine, and bring them to a place where we can just dance and play and be curious. I think that's it really opens up the doors to bringing oneness into form.
Hmm.
Well, and I feel like the three of us have a really good, we all have a really good balance of the masculine and feminine energies within us. I had my own experience in December of coming into union with my divine masculine, like on an energetic level. And so, and in that union, it was this, I had this sudden realization of, oh my gosh, like this has been with me all along. This, I don't need to seek outside of myself to find this to make me whole. And it was that, like, I'm getting goosebumps just even talking about it, but it was this whole energy, like, you know, around, I had just, you know, gotten dumped and I had all these things going on. And then that whole thing kicked off this whole coming into union with the divine masculine. And, and it was just like, I realized I had been denying this for so long. And so coming into union with that it was so big. And I had to call, you know, Jayme and really breathe through it. And, you know, and I did an art piece around it to really help embody it, you know? And so when we did all this work, I felt like it was so balanced, because the three of us, I really feel, have that balance of masculine, feminine energy in there. So it feels to me like we are just really, and this is where it's at. I think this is, you know, this is where we're all headed, is to that real balanced energy, you know, and doing this type of work and doing it together is where we're going for everyone. And I feel like we are, you know, it's like that old saying kind of, you know, you heal one, you heal all. And it's like the three of us came together to do this. And it's yeah, we're just an outward manifestation of what's happening on the inside, if that makes sense, you know? So I feel like we're just, you know, we're just doing this thing that's everybody is going to be doing, you know, eventually. But it's been a really incredible experience.
Well, somebody put up something about the triad a minute ago, then Morgan just put up another one. But there's something that you said that kind of falls with this, that she said conscious triad doing trinity transformation like soul merging. Anything one does affects the whole. And I think you kind of touched on that right now.
Yeah, it's well, that's why when we did this together, I really felt like we were moving as one. We came together as, you know, it was no longer an I, it was an us, it was a we, but it was this collaboration of oneness. And that to me was the most amazing part, is yeah, we were each experiencing kind of sort of like different like things. It looked different on the outside, but we were walking through it together. And that was the cool part about having the three of us really do this together as a unit, and we became one through that.
I feel like I naturally was born with a lot of masculine energy, a lot of misguided warrior, wounded masculine energy. I came through having to heal a lot of aggression and a lot of being a fighter and all this misguided self-righteousness. And for me now to balance in the feminine, I'm 38 years old and I'm just now learning to balance into being more feminine and soft and gentle. And the most beautiful thing about that for me is that I've tried to almost disown the masculine part of me. Oh, you're too masculine. You know, I need to be more soft. I need to be more feminine. And that doesn't work. Like on a soul level, I'm tough and I'm strong. And if I try to shun that, it just will come out. It will play in the background and come out unexpectedly in a really aggressive way. But if I honor that part of myself and like working with these two women, you know, Jayme, I told her earlier today, I come into Jayme's field and I just soften up. Like I just soften up and things just, there's ease and there's flow, which is who I really am, but I'm still bringing that online myself. You know, it's a work in progress for me.
Yeah, for everybody. Don't feel bad. And don't feel bad about coming into the area of balance with the masculine and feminine at 38, because I'm 59 and I'm still a work in process. So did this just happen organically? Like, I know the two of you were at Soulogy Fest, but I think you actually had connected before then, but if whether or not it didn't matter, but I mean, how did it happen? I mean, like, did somebody just go, "Hey, I got an idea," or you were just interacting, supporting each other, and it just evolved?
Yeah, so I wanted to connect Marion and Missee, and it was after we connected that I just had this vision of us doing this, and it just kept becoming clearer and clearer and clearer. And once I felt a really strong momentum show up, I just dropped that seed and said, "Hey, I just, I have this thing of us coming together and working on this level, and just take some time to think about it and let me know if it feels aligned to you."
I like that. That's the soft approach. And I really wasn't. Obviously, I'm a man. I mean, I'm not maligning the masculine, but there seems to be something in the physical form that's occurring, regardless of our makeup inside, because it's the human on the outside that's had to contend with the conditioning and the programming and so on. And I guess what I'm saying is there seems to be from past, contrast to the past, an inordinate, large, expanding number of female incarnates that are somehow or another in that frequency band, are accessible to it. Maybe it's women's intuition. I don't know what, but it is soft. I guess that would be the best way to explain it, because everything you look at out there is hard and fast and rigid. That's the template of the patriarchal. And I know two of you personally, and in your energy, Marion, is easy to pick up. It's pretty much the same. It's all the same. But I just see this as very significant, because we've actually had, I think, 3 groups of women on here that meet online. One of them actually in person, and with a group. And I asked them, would you share would you do a gathering with us all watching? And what do you do? Kind of thing. I think these little cells of energy or collaboration are a great strength and a great benefit for all of us, whether anyone knows about it or not. Now, I haven't been on much because I've been burying identities as they've been coming up through the purging of the last few days. But I saw, because I went to go get Marion's name, and I saw a couple of, I saw one that you did and one that you're doing. And I guess in a general sense, the question or confirmation that I'm looking for, make sure I'm right. It looks like you're taking what you've done and you're going to kind of present that process to others in the form of service. And that's, and I just want to get some confirmation on that. And then also I wanted to find out what's the next word.
So we know the answer to that as well. So we're really just accentuating each other's gifts in a service offering. So my gift in biofield tuning, and then Marion's gift in sacred songs. So she's got this incredible voice that makes me melt when I hear her. It's like, it's unbelievable.
We're gonna have to get a little sample of that. Marion doesn't know Todd very well. Todd likes to put people on the spot, but no pressure, but you're welcome to. She sings so great. Yeah. So I obviously people have heard you. Go ahead.
And Missee has this beautiful, beautiful gift of holding presence and of just really, really bringing compassion forward,
Yeah.
bringing compassion through. And what I saw earlier in the vision is us creating this unified field, and me tuning the field while we're doing this dance. The three of us are doing this dance of Marion singing as I'm hitting those sticky parts that are hard to get through, and Missee coming forward and doing compassionate eye gazing as we're doing deep integration. And you know, when you're receiving a healing session and things are coming up for you that you haven't really felt before, or that you're just used to pushing down, and you've got somebody there that's just holding space for you, and when you eye gaze, you're really looking into your own soul. When you're looking into somebody else's eyes, you know, it's being reflected back to you. And so as you're integrating all of these feelings and emotions and experiences that are coming up, and you've got somebody right there holding space for that and seeing you and feeling you, and then with two other women there to just really hold that field so strongly, I just felt like it. And adding to the fact that we've all gone through our own embodiment process before holding that space, it just felt to me like this is like the future of healing. You know, when I go see a doctor, like I will now only see a doctor that is a doctor because they've gone through that experience. Like if they specialize in autoimmune disorders, you know, they have overcome an autoimmune disorder. They've gone through the process of like having the passion to get themselves better and exploring different avenues and different aspects and perspectives to really bring the richness through. And so with the energetics of this, I feel like because we've gone through this process and we're showing up in this embodiment state, it just brings a potency that I've never seen offered before. And you know, I want to, this is kind of like a very creative energy. And so to be able to create this, it feels fun and it feels exciting. And I'm super stoked.
Well, you know, I would say this, I hadn't thought about it, but the approach as well isn't hard and fast. It's soft. And I think that kind of in part characterizes what you're talking about, the new healing. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, there's a lot of things that align there, but one of them is, I guess we would say, presentation. I mean, it's a fine line, light worker circles, service offerings, product offerings. I mean, you know, infused creations offered with the energy of the heart's intention that people from their good graces want to put out there. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, but I really, I can see that now that you mention it. I can see the whole thing looks different from top to bottom, basically. Not to mention the power of three, which you don't see that. You might see, you know, like a joint venture or two people or a couple, you know, doing something, but to see three, I mean, as much progress as we made, all of us, we're still dealing with things just at a deeper level, to include, you know, the things that the ego involves itself in. You know, you know, it's got to be this way. I got to be in charge, or, you know, all those things. So to have three people even to come together and allow this to organically evolve, I think that is one of the things that encourages those non-physical aspects that Jayme was talking about, and brings them to the table in a greater extent, especially with three. I mean, that's a lot different than 2 in this new world math. It really is.
Yeah, and what it felt like as we were working through this whole process, it felt like a triple trinity, because we're both very much, or we're all three very much working with our inner child and our divine self. And then we're bringing those 3 aspects of ourself forward together. So it feels like it's triple, you know?
Yeah.
And that's really like it really amplifies the energy of it.
Yeah.
I think it was when we did the integration. Was it not when we did that and we held hands, you know, with our like youngest self, and then the human aspect, and then the highest aspect. And so when we came in and we did the 3, we're holding, it was just incredible. I think that's when we kind of like lifted off into a whole nother dimension.
So I was seeing this vision of you know, us individually seated on the ground, holding, you know, one hand with our inner child and the other hand with our divine self. And then in all 3 locations, really like bringing that energy up. And as soon as I saw that, I had this vision of like these snowflakes, is like these photonic light snowflakes coming down. And it was just like this really beautiful, peaceful moment. But then it got really icy cold, and we were like traveling off to somewhere else. I don't know, but it was like I was shivering.
Wow, that's how that happened. I mean, that, and you know, myself and other people I've talked to, that's one of the characteristics of out of body or near death is that coldness.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all ever heard that, but I've heard many people say that, you know, to one extent or another.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the real deal.
Yeah.
It was a trip. It was amazing though. But that's when we literally, like, that was where it was like, whoa, this is really trippy. Like, I think at one point, even before that, we were talking about how like we felt like, you know, I think Jayme and I had talked about like, do you kind of feel like you're on mushrooms at this point? You know, and it was just this like, whoa, trip out, man. It was the good stuff for sure.
And we're all, that's another thing too about this, is we're all actively practicing sobriety. So we're being very squeaky clean about this whole thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, wow, this is a lot. And we've got another, I got another show in 30 minutes, but I need to take a little break. You guys are powerful. I mean, like I can feel you, and it's a powerful thing. And I'm really happy to see y'all doing this. Why don't we go around one time, and you guys ladies have any closing comments or anything that you want to talk about? And I just want to also let everybody know, now this initiative has a name, doesn't it? I know I saw it, but I don't remember what it was. It's a gray, has the 3 pictures, and then is there a name for it?
Yeah, so we've created an event that's going to be on Sunday, and we're calling it Alchemizing the Core Wound of Rejection.
Okay.
Yeah, and next month we're going to be focusing on choosing presence over projection.
Presence
so it's going to be interesting navigating through projection.
That's a pretty good little combination there, because you don't really think about them being associated, but actually you can't project if you're present, ultimately, right. You know, in the best of the worlds. Yeah, that's awesome. So any of your pages, people can find information about it, and certainly I would flood, you know, or at least post it up daily in Soulogy group. And just on that note, I get a lot of people say, hey, can you put this in Soulogy group? Yeah, I can, just as easy as you can. You just go in and you push and you post it. It's a good
platform. We have everything on our public page. We don't really want to be too promoty about this because, there's a lot of trust that everybody
Yeah.
that needs to show up is going to show up.
That's a very good point. So just let me retract that statement. You're right. This is the new program. Yeah, that's beautiful. I like that. That's again the soft thing. I mean, and you're right, because I've seen this happen a lot with Morgan, because I'm not a practitioner, so I don't have that type of cycle or routine. But I've seen where there's nothing going on. She does a bunch of clearing, and boom, all of a sudden there's 5 appointments, right? I mean, there doesn't seem to be any connection, but there is. And I think that's what's materializing, is what you're talking about. And it's only going to work if you put faith in it and do it, which is what y'all are doing. So, Marion, are you going to give us
a song?
A little song.
Is that too much? Is that putting you on the spot?
No.
Oh, cool.
Let me just this probably, I just need to tap this so I can hear the tone a little bit. Wait, hold on. Okay, I got one. Get everybody to drop into their heart. Suyarvasuri, soyanarvalor vase, undia parvasuri, soyarvasorote, sumbia kumbati, Sovatore curvato, sumziama faciti, uyar valore, sumia curvasi, si valore. Mia cotorvi surve parvanukur statitiasnun turmimi karvata arvasur.
Man, you three are potent. I'm surprised you didn't bring in a hurricane. Well, it's interesting too, because there's 3 powerful points of that triad, and each one of them is unique into themselves in equal measure. That was beautiful. Thank you very much for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
Missee Sue, you got anything before we head out the door?
God, I just want to give you gratitude for holding space for us to share and to just play with you. Thank you. And I love you.
I love you too. I love all 3 of you. And it's nice to meet you, Marion. I look forward to seeing all of you prosper abundantly. And I mean that far beyond, our typical definition. I mean, in terms of what you're doing, in terms of what you attract. And I know it's going to happen. There's no doubt. I think it's happening for a lot of people. But this is nice because this is a physicalized template that people can actually look at. And it's not the yogi guru stuff. It's just straight up, hey, we're coming, and the human aspect is leading the way. And you know how I feel about that. So I take my hat off to you, and thank you for setting such a great example. And I don't know what else to say, but I didn't know really what was going to happen here today, but a lot's happened. There's a lot involved with this. So I really appreciate that. And I'm excited to see this type of thing expand. Thank you for doing it, all 3 of you. And
a special thanks, Todd, to you and Morgan for all the work that you do, and to Morgan that has brought through this beautiful modality that we've really enjoyed working with. It's just
You enjoyed it.
It's life changing. You know, I mean, it changes our lives on an individual level. It's clearing us ancestrally. You know, we're clearing on a collective level, on a universal level. It's huge. So just thank you.
It is huge. Yeah, once you get past the resistance of why do I need to do this? That was of course, it wasn't like all laid out. I didn't really get it at the time, but once I got it, then I was like, okay. And there was, there was on the human level, there was like these chaotic things that occurred. But then her and I got on a bus and drove 12 hours to Arkansas, and I laughed the whole way. And that's the kind of thing that happens with it. So I mean, with transformation and in this case, zero point. Love you guys.
Love you.
Take it easy. Peace out, everybody. We got another show in 30 minutes, a very special show with another very powerful divine feminine from California, old Soulogy supporter from about 2014, very dear friend of mine. So hang around if you got nothing else to do. I love you, ladies. Take care.
Love you.